Welcome to Worship with Winston-Salem Friends Meeting. My name is Cheryl Bridges, and I'll be bringing today's prepared message. And I'm excited to say that this will likely be the last virtual message that I'll be bringing now that I am vaccinated and almost completely marinated. I will be in person at Winston-Salem Friends Meeting for worship in May. So I'm grateful that for all that we have learned over the past year, and also am looking so forward to being in your midst in May. So as we gather our minds and hearts today for preparation for today's message, let's take a minute to just center down and be still. I'd like to start this morning's message with a reading from the Christian scriptures in the Gospel of Luke. You're probably quite familiar with the story of the road to Emmaus and how Cleopas and his traveling companion encountered Jesus. This is the rest of that story and a little bit more. Luke 24. That same hour, Cleopas and his companion got up and returned to Jerusalem. They found the 11 disciples and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord is risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Cleopas and his friend then told them what had happened on the road to Emmaus, and how Jesus had been made known to them in the breaking of bread. While they were talking about this, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and terrified and thought that they were seeing a ghost. Jesus said to them, "Why are you frightened? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? Look at my hands and my feet. See that it is I, myself. Well, for the past couple of months, we've traveled alongside Jesus through his ministry to his journey to Golgotha. We've explored the deeper topics that journey has brought up, like commitment and legacy. And since then, Christians around the world have celebrated Jesus' resurrection. Picking up the story, today we find Jesus appearing to the disciples just before his ascension. Jesus didn't just appear to the disciples. He scared the dickens out of them. They'd already heard 3 accounts of Jesus being there resurrected. First were the women who found the tomb empty, and then second was Simon. And here now Cleopas and his friends say they met him on their way back home to Emmaus. This was the first time they'd all actually laid eyes on him, and it would be the last. In this account from the Gospel of Luke, Jesus goes on to ask for food, which he eats in front of them as if to prove his earlier statement that he's not a ghost. I guess ghosts don't eat leftover fish. We then read that he goes on to open their minds to understanding before he blesses them and ascends into the heavens. Well, I don't know about you, but to me, the story of Jesus seems to have a consistent theme of, but wait, there's more. There's always a lesson that we can extract from each step in his journey. And even though there's still a level of mystery, there's a deeper truth to glean from what sits just beneath the surface. The truth in today's story is well illustrated in this short, beloved poem by Patrick Overton from his book, The Leaning Tree. The poem is simply entitled, Faith. When you walk to the edge of all the light you have, and take that first step into the darkness of the unknown, you must believe that one of 2 things will happen. There will be something solid for you to stand upon, or you will be taught how to fly. I'd like to read it for you again. It's so brief. When you walk to the edge of all the light you have, and take that first step into the darkness of the unknown, you must believe that one of 2 things will happen. There will be something solid for you to stand upon, or you will be taught how to fly. Just a few days before the scenes in today's reading, the ministry of Jesus had taken a dramatic and unexpected turn. What started out with a triumphant ride into Jerusalem and a beautiful Passover Seder slowly turned into a nightmare. While Jesus was sweating blood in the Garden of Gethsemane, asking God to take this cup of destiny from him, he was betrayed and arrested. Later, he was tried and crucified. It seemed to everyone, even at times to Jesus, that they had walked to the edge of all the light they knew. They had all been plunged into the unknown. And despite Jesus' frequent attempts to explain what he knew, the disciples had no idea what to expect. But then this appearance of Jesus in their midst. This was the answer to their concerns. He'd come out on the other side and in some way, shape, or form lived to tell about it. Not only that, he reassures them that once he is gone, they will be clothed with power from on high. Yet again, there's going to be more to this story. But such is the path of a journey of faith. Sometimes we're learning to fly, and sometimes we're set on solid ground. Much of the time, when we follow our leadings, we end up doing some scary things, despite the doubt and fear in our hearts. Learning to fly from a place of faith can be scary because it feels as if we're flying, but by the seat of our pants. We take an instinctive step as we feel led, but then doubt that the next steps will unfold. Sometimes it feels as if the pavement is being laid just ahead of us as we follow each step of our leading. Other times it feels as if we're flying blindly, navigating by the light of our own limited understanding, even when that light is dimmed by our doubt and our visibility is low. We may question our clarity, or maybe even our sanity. We also may end up flying on standby in our faith journey. Are we ready to respond to the nudge of spirit at the last minute? I imagine that's part of what has us quake with trepidation when we sense a leading in community, whether that's in meeting for worship or meeting for business. On the other hand, can we sit and wait patiently until it's clear that the time for action is rightly ordered? It's likely, too, that we've all done a bit of flying too close to the sun in our faith journey by being stubborn or arrogant or overreactive while we outrun our guides, our tribe, and our light. I think Proverbs 16 puts it perfectly. Pride comes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Learning to fly on our faith journey means that we are indeed called into what feels unfamiliar, as if there's nothing beneath our feet. And yet, by living in our faith, we can rise above minutia, drama, our own egos, and limitations to gain a higher perspective. We are freed by our leading to soar unfettered into new directions and new possibilities. But what if our faith takes us to the other option, into a place of something solid to stand on? To stand on our own 2 feet means that we're well grounded in that faith. Perhaps your faith is grounded by prayer or by centering down to quiet your mind and your spirit. To stand on something solid also means to be well supported. Our family, our friends, the communities in which we participate can all be a source of that solid grounding. As a released Quaker minister, I'm grateful for meetings like Winston-Salem Friends that give me solid grounding for my own ministry, whatever shape it takes. Another aspect of having something solid to stand on is that we feel secure as we stand in a faith that is built on solid ground. But much like Icarus, who flew too close to the sun. Feeling secure on solid ground can actually become a detriment to faith when we refuse to budge. We can get so deeply rooted in feeling secure that we end up clutching and clinging to old familiar ways, even when they've outlived their ability to nourish us. In gardening, the term for that is called root bound, and eventually the plant whose roots are bound in the security of that pot ends up dying. Something solid to stand on can become rutted and entrenched rather than supportive and life-giving. You may find yourself resistant to any new light being shined in you or to you or through you. It's what I call being uncoachable and unteachable. Being given something solid to stand on for our faith journeys means that as we follow God's leadings, each step we take will be sure. And even in the face of uncertainty, we're committed and resilient as we allow our lives to be guided by Spirit. No matter how startled or terrified we feel in the face of that Christ light, whether we're given wings to fly or something solid to stand on, we can trust the unseen teacher within us, that power from on high that Jesus promised we'd be clothed in. When we walk to the edge of all the light we have, and we take that first step into the darkness of the unknown, we can trust that one of two things will happen, or maybe both. Even as we doubt, even as we feel terrified, there will be something solid for us to stand on. We will be taught how to fly. And so it is. Amen.